Now, I think the biggest disappointment by Bob Iger is what he said a couple of weeks ago about his plans to reboot and remake a lot of already established live-action Disney films, such as Cinderella, Maleficent 1 and 2, and let's not forget about Alice in Wonderland 2010, and among others out there, like Beauty and the Beast, among also really creating others into live-action, such as Sword in the Stone, Lilo and Stitch, and much more to actually talk about on top of that. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing that has been going on between Jenna Ortega, her agent and manager, and the Disney bigwigs, right? The heads over there, really trying to put together this new future for Disney live action, whether it be movies or TV shows, or even the animated material at that. That's going to be all about the cost containment plan, right? Spending less and making less and adapting many of the stories from their animated counterparts. Now, what's interesting about this is exactly what Jenna Ortega recently did to the Snow White brand and to Disney themselves. As you all know, we've been talking about this. Jenna has been in serious talks and in progress of joining multiple movies that Rachel Zegler was previously supposed to obtain. This included Pirates of the Caribbean reboot, some other live-action movies currently untitled, and even an animated film that is set to demonstrate as a competitor against DreamWorks' upcoming Shrek project. We're not quite sure if it's a spin-off or a reboot, but it's either one or the other. Now, interestingly enough, on top of all of this, given that, of course, Jenna Ortega is progressively taking over many of Rachel Zegler's roles at Disney after she was let go, one major development has to do with Jenna taking action toward Disney, as it turns out. With the Snow White 2024 sequel cancelled, we talked about this, and now Disney is in pursuit of remaking Snow White entirely again to reboot the famous tale. Now, one crucial update surrounding this is that Disney reportedly begged Jenna Ortega to take on the role of Snow White for another reimagining that was greenlit as an emergency response after the 2024 sequel was axed. This was a discussion that took place between the Disney heads some days ago, where Jenna's agent and manager that bounced back to her, and surprisingly, Ortega shot down the offer to portray Snow White for two major reasons. Although this new reimagining is going to be closer to the source material this time, Disney also wants to double down on their DEI agenda simultaneously and their strategy with this film. And the second reason is that Ortega felt it was not right for her to obtain the role knowing that she would get a level of backlash taking up Disney's offer. However, Jenna felt it would also be best for someone else to obtain the role accurately, and this is how and now why Disney put together and how they're at a standstill and in a catch-22 situation, as they are back to square one on figuring out how to cast for another Snow White movie after Zegler's film. So, let me just say one thing about this quick, guys, in case you guys were very, confused about what actually happened. Now, Disney was supposed to create the Snow White universe, 2 prequel movies to the 24 film and a direct sequel. That all got axed. It got all canceled, not just because of the Zegler firing, but also because of the fact that they could not properly find a way to balance that out and continue the story without having the same actress. So they decided, let's just make another reimagining, let's make another remake, and let's also apply that to our other brands out there, such as Maleficent, Alice in Wonderland, Beauty and the Beast, you name it. They're going to be rebooting those films again as well. Cinderella also, 2015, they're going to be rebooting that as well. Bob Iger even touched on that a little bit weeks ago. We'll talk more about that in the coming days. But what's really interesting about this is how Jenna really took a stand and really put Disney in their place and really shot down this role. Like I mentioned before, she doesn't necessarily believe that she deserves that role. She believes that somebody else should accurately portray the role, as we all know what that means. And on top of that, she also did this to send a message to, of course, Disney. She doesn't want anything to do with something that has these extreme, you know, radical DEI agendas being thrown into these franchises. I mean, who would want to be affiliated with something like that? It's going to tarnish your career, it's going to garner a lot of backlash, and it's a smart move. And again, I keep saying to myself, why is she still pursuing Disney, even though they seem to be doubling down on this nonsense? We know that they did ditch the idea of making her character very much, you know, agenda-driven in the Pirates reboot. That was one settlement that they actually dealt with for that actual movie. But moving onwards, alright? Moving to the next big thing here is that Disney is also getting ready to reboot the Maleficent movies and even Alice in Wonderland 2010, like we discussed before, to fit more in line with their agenda. Disney even reportedly offered Jenna a very high margin of income to take the role of Snow White, a reimagining yet again that they want to drop in theaters by 2026 or 27 at the latest. This is not to be confused with a sequel per se. However, Ortega shot down the role to send Disney a major message where her beliefs are set now in place. This is now creating Disney to go back to square one, as they felt Ortega would sell this movie through and through in the near future. Disney is already aiming to make this a low-budget film, or a lower-budget film, in comparison to The Little Mermaid and Snow White 24, which is a signal that this film will be smaller scale in nature. Jenna also shot down the offer now for World of Witches, a new franchise by Disney in the works. As of now, she is in the process of still joining the Pirates reboot and some other Disney movies on the side. Elevated conversations face-to-face will begin once the SAG strike comes to a close and a conclusion. The Snow White film that Jenna shot down is planned to bring back the iconic 7 dwarfs. However, Disney also wants to insert elements of DEI again in those characters. Not by, of course, design, but by personality and their series of beliefs. This new Snow White remake that Ortega shot down is also a greenlit plan by Bob Iger after the Snow White universe fell apart after all the drama happening behind the scenes. Now, again, here's the bigger problem at play, is that we know that basically everything that happened between Rachel Zegler and the Disney bigwigs and everything happening between the board of directors, Bob Iger, etc., it goes to show you that drama never escapes Disney in the 2020s. This is a very bad decade for them, and I don't believe it's going to get any better. We have seen what happened with the Disney stock. It's only going to continue to get worse. It keeps on dipping and dipping, and it's living proof that customers are not satisfied, that shareholders are not satisfied, and Bob Iger, I call him Liger, will continue to string them along for the remaining months of this year. So, again, I think that Jenna made a great move. This is a step in the right direction to really kind of serve yourself as, you know, defending your own self-respect and putting Disney in their place and really teaching them a lesson. So I think that's one reason why a lot of people look up to Jenna Ortega, is that she really makes, you know, she calls the shots in some areas. She doesn't really fall for, you know, money all the time. She doesn't fall for, you know, these offers that are very much, you know, would, to any other actress that may be less experienced, would have taken up this role in a heartbeat. I think that this was a smart move, and it makes a lot of sense. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to morning.